Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Wednesday. This is Seattle Now. The first ballots in this year's general election are counted. Early results show incumbent Mayor Bruce Harrell leading in Seattle, but other sitting officials in the city are trailing. Still, there are lots of ballots left to be counted. We'll break down what we know from the first batch of votes in a minute. But first, let's get you caught up. After months of searching, Seattle Public Schools will reveal their choice for a new superintendent today. Currently, the person is known only as Candidate 7 from the 8-person pool of finalists. During today's meeting, the school board will vote to start contract negotiations with the new superintendent. The big reveal is slated for 4:30. Attorney General Nick Brown is co-leading a coalition of cities and states opposed to recent action from the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA has proposed eliminating most of their greenhouse gas reporting program. That program is part of the Clean Air Act and requires major polluters to document their annual emissions. The coalition says this type of reporting helps companies reduce their emissions, which then slows greenhouse gas accumulation, and that slows climate change. And UW researchers have discovered a concerning link between wildfire smoke exposure and premature births. When a pregnancy ends before 37 weeks, babies and infants have a much higher risk of illness and death. Researchers say smoke interferes with placenta development. They determined that risk increases with the intensity of wildfire smoke. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. The wait is over. Early results are in from the 2025 general election. There's a lot on the ballot in Seattle and King County. There are multiple city council seats, a city attorney spot, and a hotly contested mayor's race in Seattle. In King County, voters will pick a new executive, and some areas will fill vacancies in the state legislature. Incumbent Mayor Bruce Harrell has a 7-point lead after the first drop. Challenger Katie Wilson is banking on later drops to lean her way. Inside King County Elections headquarters, it ain't over until every ballot is counted. Seattle Now evening host Paige Browning is here to break down the results we have so far. Paige, good to see you.
Good to see you, taping this late into the night. Glad We're still awake.
Yep, election night. Very special night in the newsroom. Let's start with the big picture. Early results are just that, early, but what are we seeing right now overall?
Wow. Well, the first drop, you mentioned this, it's good for Bruce Harrell, which was honestly a bit of a surprise to a lot of the electorate based on the tone of the race in the past couple of weeks. Otherwise, this was a real good night for more progressive candidates. That is a little bit more of what was expected going into this.
Yeah.
We'll get into the details, but we're probably going to see a change in the city attorney's office and on city council, plus a brand new face in King County and a new county executive. And those three races are breaking toward more progressive candidates in these first results. I will say that the Seattle mayor's race is a bit of an outlier to this trend of the progressives really pushing through. The first night results there are 53% Bruce Harrell, 46% for Katie Wilson, the transit and labor advocate. And I have to add that as of taping time right now, this race has not been called. Results are still preliminary, and we'll, of course, keep our finger on the pulse as we learn more.
All right. So with that caveat, we have the big picture. What are the trends you're noticing tonight?
Aside from the mayor of Seattle, which we'll talk about more in a minute, things went the way of more progressive candidates and challengers. We had heard that this might be a, quote, change election, and it appears tonight that it's just that. A change election because of the Seattle electorate's basically distaste for the Trump administration, for new federal policies, for funding clawbacks and grant cancellations by the federal government, etc. People were looking for change. The Seattle city attorney, in this vein, is not likely to keep her seat. Attorney Ann Davison is trailing by about 22 percentage points to former federal prosecutor Erica Evans. And the city council president, Sarah Nelson, local businesswoman who's the former owner of Fremont Brewing, among other things, she is behind in her race for re-election. Nelson is 23 points behind Dion Foster, who is a former city council aide and now heads up a progressive advocacy group and could very well be our newest city council member. So, Trish, these are really big changes for the city. This is voters sending a message out with the more moderate, the more tough on crime type of leaders in Seattle.
All right, but back to that mayor's race, arguably the biggest election in this cycle. Katie Wilson won more than 50% of the vote in August's primary. Harrell, like we mentioned, in the lead tonight. Where do things stand and where could they be going?
Ooh, Trish. Okay,
Yeah.
Buckle up. This ride isn't over yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this was not really a great night for Mayor Harrell or for Katie Wilson, for either candidate, because Bruce Harrell, the incumbent, a former city council member, an attorney, he's leading the race with about 7 percentage points. Honestly, that's like by the skin of his teeth because this is really close. Here's why. Bruce is the moderate candidate in this race, the status quo candidate, the career politician camp, but the late vote counts, people know this, pretty much always break in favor of progressives. Enter Katie Wilson. She's behind tonight, and it's not clear that the mail-in votes that are still coming in can make up the gap, but here's what she was telling her supporters at her own watch party before the results even came out.
You know, we came through the primary on primary night at just over 46%, and we ended up near 51, right? So we can expect a swing as more ballots are counted.
So that's Katie Wilson. This race was really close in the days leading up. These candidates have debated, I think, as many as 20 times over the past few months. What does history tell us about a slim margin like the one between Harrell and Wilson tonight?
Well, there's a reason she was mentioning those numbers in the audio we played. Back in 2021, Harrell was also leading on election night, but then his opponent, Lorena Gonzalez, made up ground by 6 points once all the ballots were counted. Harrell still won. He's our mayor. But his lead had shrunk 6 points over time. So his 7-point lead is something to note tonight, the first night of counting. He spoke to the media at his victory party and said he's feeling good about his campaign.
You know, we think we ran a stronger platform. We think we're more experienced and qualified for this job. And we'll see how the vote count plays out. But I'd rather be where we are than where she is right now.
So that's a confident take from the mayor. And for some data nerds who want to parse this out even more, I'll remind you that Katie Wilson won the August primary election. And after election night counting, her lead grew about 8% between election night and when the final votes were counted. That was different because there were more people in the race. It was the primary, but it did favor Wilson as more mail-in ballots were counted. So every day is going to reveal more and more about this race. We'll be watching every day.
Yeah. Well, we should also talk about turnout page. Odd year, local-only elections, notoriously not big drivers for voters. King County predicted 45% this time around. Kind of a party on Capitol Hill, if you ask me.
Come on, y'all, let's make voting trendy again! Don't be the person in the group chat who didn't cast your ballot.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, yeah, so the party was happening on Capitol Hill, but really, what are we looking at so far?
Meh.
Yeah, see.
The turnout, it's okay. This is just night one, but it's just shy of 26% in King County. 26%.
That's rough.
This is going to go up because we're a vote by mail state and lots of people dropped off their ballot today. Probably the people having that party on Capitol Hill.
I know I did.
Or yeah, you did. Yeah. And at least one of our producers did, or put it in the mail yesterday. Those ballots aren't in the count just yet. King County elections officials projected, as you said, that we'd have like a 45% turnout. Compared to the state, we're actually seeing more voter engagement so far in the Seattle area. Turnout statewide is about 21% on the first night of results, but I wish that was higher.
I bet Elections wishes it was higher, too.
Yeah, they do.
The city council page could look a lot different in January. Current council president Sarah Nelson is on the hot seat tonight, and we have two completely new challengers for the seat in District 2, Eddie Lynn and Adonis Duckworth. What's going on with the council in the first drop tonight?
Okay, for District 2, that open seat you just mentioned, the votes are going to Eddie Lynn, and in a pretty big way. Lynn's an assistant city attorney for the city attorney's office and leads Seattle Transportation Advisor Adonis Duckworth. Lynn's up in that race with 68% of the vote. Okay, but the more spicy races here are District 9 and maybe District 8. In District 9, the race that we're probably going to see a big change in. This is possibly the ouster of Sarah Nelson from the council. Nelson is 23 points behind Dion Foster. Nelson's the president of the city council, which could be why this race has gained a lot of attention. And Nelson, here's what's happening in this race. She is a moderate who was elected alongside Bruce Harrell in 2021. They had sort of this Clean Up Seattle platform coming in response to the 2020 racial justice protests and how COVID sort of wrecked what downtown looks like. Well, Dion Foster is what our politics editor calls a tax the rich progressive, and her message seemed to work in this election. That's District 9. For District 8, Alexis Mercedes Rink had a great night. Voters are giving her a whopping 78%
That's a trouncing.
of the vote. It's a trouncing. She might not be surprised. She did great in the primary. And the story here is she's basically been her own progressive island on the city council for her first term.
All right. Paige, how did national politics factor in here?
Well, the most obvious race where President Trump came up was our city attorney race. Incumbent Ann Davison, who may be out of a job now, has in the past identified as a Republican. She did not want to talk about that this election, but that was sort of hard to swallow for some voters here. And some opposition campaigns really highlighted that she'd identified as a Republican. Interestingly, on Trump, Harrell has campaigned as the guy to elect to stand up to Trump on his flyers, in interviews. I'm not sure how widely that message took hold, but he really was arguing that his experience in office is going to put Seattle in a better position to defend itself against Trump policies. Also, one other thing to mention on national politics is the race really overshadowing all others is for mayor in New York City, with Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani exciting the voters there and potentially even causing some ripples of excitement all the way over here for change candidate Katie Wilson for mayor. So we're seeing some national politics at play for both Wilson and Harrell, which we don't know the result of yet.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about King County Executive, also on the ballot page. A race that's kind of flown under the radar in comparison to the bigger races here in Seattle. Still very important job, and it's close. What's going on there?
This is so close, like 2 points close, less than that.
This one's a nail biter.
It's a nail biter. King County Councilmember Gurmai Zahalai is in the lead against King County Councilmember Claudia Balducci. That's for executive. The results tonight are 50% Zahalai and 48.4% Balducci. It's a difference of like 4,300 votes.
Wow.
This is an open race with the two colleagues running against each other. And it came open for the first time in basically 15 years because Dow Constantine left the county to go run Sound Transit. This is going to be a really close one. Balducci has a long career in politics, but Zahalai is fresher and kind of has some wind at his back this campaign. He had this great PR campaign. My guy, Gurmai. We're going to be watching
Kind of sticks with you. Yeah. Paige, a couple of local propositions on the ballot as well. What do you think people should know about here?
Prop 2 in Seattle.
Yeah.
So if the results hold, we are going to see a change to the business and occupation tax. Supporters say it's going to really give small businesses a break on the B&O tax and raise it for the city's largest corporations. They're going to pay more. And supporters say that this will raise an additional $80 million a year for the city. The Downtown Seattle Association was against this. They say Seattle already has the nation's highest B&O tax, but that's passing by 67%.
We talked about a big swing in this year's mayoral primary. Most of these races aren't over yet. What are you looking for in the coming days? before I let you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the mayor's race, the county executive race that's a nail biter, and if any other swings happen. I'm guessing we won't know the mayor's result until maybe Friday. That's a guess. Could be a little sooner, could be a little later. But that's what I'm thinking. So stay tuned to your local news podcast, Seattle Now.
All right. Paige Browning hosts Seattle Now's evening show and is just the best. Really appreciate it, Paige. Thanks so much for your insight tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Andy Hurst, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Thanks a lot to Casey Martin, Amy Radel, and Andy Hurst for our election night audio. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.